Good evening and welcome to this week's news programme. And what an awfully cold and wet winter day it's been. And I'm glad to be indoors and trying to keep warm. In the local news this week, work to secure Oldcastle Road in Weymouth will start on Monday. That's good news for the residents of Oldcastle Road. Oldcastle Road has been threatened by landslides for decades, putting around 90 homes at risk, and half the road has been cordoned off for some time. But now, a private landowner who recently bought the site has agreed to carry out the necessary work to shore up the road, and it will start next week. The first part of the project will involve remedial action at the edge of the highway to prevent the cliff edge and road from further slips. Local residents are obviously delighted that at last something is to be done. It comes at a time when the local authority was actually considering whether it was necessary to reroute traffic and use the old Rodwell Trail disused railway line for traffic for a period of time. Dorset Council said the first phase will involve piling work to enable building on the land to continue safely, with the slope being fully stabilised as part of the development process. The work will involve installing a set of closely spaced board piles with small caps between them. This close spacing forms a wall to retain the ground, while the gaps allow the water to drain through, so to prevent further landslips. The road's going to remain one way under temporary traffic lights until the area is made safe. A recent report had identified a translational landslide, a downslope movement of material caused by rainwater running off the road and onto the cliffs, a problem that is actually common along all of the Jurassic coast, which is always at high risk of landslips after heavy rain along its full length. Visitors to Dorset will be able to enjoy a free top-up with tap water from more locations thanks to Wessex water refill points, and you can see what they actually look like on the screen. A unit was recently installed at the bottom of South Street in Dorchester, with additional points due to be installed in Bridport and Blandford Forum in the new year. Earlier in the year, the Wessex Water also installed 4 refill points across Weymouth. They can be found in Hope Square, the Esplanade, New Bond Street and Alexander Gardens. The refill points will not be turned on until after the current restrictions have been eased, but once turned on they will be cleaned, maintained and inspected regularly to ensure the highest standards of hygiene and water quality. Wessex Water is encouraging people to drink more tap water and avoid using single-use plastic bottles, and the company is working with the councils and businesses across its supply region to install refill units in public places. Kirsty Scarlett from Wessex Water's Head of Community Engagement said the water refill points are in great locations to keep Dorset's residents and visitors hydrated. These are just some of the many water refill points we will be installing across the region as part of our mission to reduce the number of single-use plastic bottles we all use. We are pleased to be able to work with so many local communities which share the same aim of choosing refill over landfill. And you'll know it's a point that we've made many times here, the amount of plastic that we use and dispose of. After many months of pressure from West Dorset MP Chris Loder, plans to ban the export of live animals for slaughter and fattening have been unveiled by the government's Environmental Secretary this week. In the start of a renewed push by the government to strengthen the UK's position as a world leader on animal welfare. The West Dorset MP has worked closely with the RSPCA, the British Veterinary Association and others to enable this to happen, and is urging as many people as possible to support his campaign by responding to the government consultation. In his speech on the 23rd of October in the House of Commons during the second reading of his animal welfare sentencing bill, the MP demanded the House support and deliver the government's pledge to end live animal exports, saying that it was disgraceful that well cared for farm animals could be loaded onto a lorry and sent thousands of miles by land and sea to destinations as far as Libya and Lebanon. Chris Loder says today's announcement, it was made in the week, is a victory for animal welfare. It's a direct benefit of Britain leaving the EU. It is the EU's trading rules on the movement of animals, along with the lobby from the National Farmers Union to continue live exports for slaughter and fattening, that has enabled this cruel practice for so long. Bringing to an end the unnecessary suffering of animals during transport is long overdue. Through my animal welfare bill, which reaches the committee stage early next year, I hope not only to achieve tougher custodial sentences for those who inflict the worst kinds of cruelty on innocent animals, but also to deal with the cruelty that has been happening on a mass scale, such as with live animal exports. Live animals commonly have to endure excessively long journeys during exports, causing distress and injury. Leaving the EU has enabled the UK government to pursue these plans, which would prevent unnecessary suffering of animals during transport, and become the first country in Europe to end this practice. According to the Fostering Network, there are 6,140 children in care in the southwest and 2,650 fostering households, with many more needed. Local authorities from Dorset and across the region have all come together to run this Christmas campaign. They are calling for those in the region with space in their home and their lives to consider fostering for their council. Councillor Andrew Parry, portfolio holder for Children, Education and Skills and Early Help for Dorset Council, says there is a huge need to raise awareness of the need for more foster carers across our region. This festive campaign will help people to understand that when you foster for your local council, you are part of a service that is not for profit and where every penny is spent on providing a good service to the children and their foster carers. We are so grateful to all our foster carers, not only at Christmas but all year round. They make a real difference to the lives of children in our county. Of course, if you're interested in fostering, you need to be aged 21 or over and have a spare bedroom. You can find out more by visiting www.fosteringindorset.co.uk or by calling 01305 22 5568. That's 01305 22 5568. The COVID-19 mobile testing unit at Weymouth Park and Ride will be moving to the Swannery car park in Weymouth from today, so it's hopefully already moved. The unit is being relocated to Swannery car park to provide increased access to testing for residents in Weymouth who may find access to the existing sites due to it being out of centre more difficult. All tests must be booked in advance via the national portal at www.gov.uk/get-coronavirus-test. Of course, residents with no internet access can phone the dedicated number 119 to organise a test. When booking a test, you'll need to give a choice of the local. You will get a choice of the local sites that are available for testing, and they are the Weymouth site. There's one in Bridport, Dorchester, Purbeck Park, Hawkwood Road, Boscombe, Wallersdown, Bournemouth, Lansdowne, Bournemouth and Creekmore at Poole. Sam Crow, Director of Public Health for Dorset and Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole Council, said the testing site at Weymouth Park and Ride has served residents well during the coronavirus pandemic, but relocating it to Swannery Car Park will make getting coronavirus tests more accessible for the residents in Weymouth. Don't forget, you mustn't turn up at the site without a booking, so you must make a booking, and you should book a coronavirus test if you're showing symptoms of COVID-19, so a new continuous cough, high temperature, change or loss of sense of smell, change or loss of sense of taste. So that's our news headlines for this evening. Moving on to our sort of more substantial stories this week. We often get asked as individuals, do you remember where you were the day something happened, such as when President Kennedy was assassinated, or when the massive attacks on the Twin Towers and other US locations on 9/11 happened? Another such event used the same way is the shooting of John Lennon. Yes, it was 40 years ago on the 8th of December 1980 that John Lennon, the rock musician and peace activist and a member of the Beatles, was shot dead, aged just 40, outside his New York City apartment by Mark Chapman, a deranged fan. This week, Janet Hall, who I recently discovered was a very strong Beatles fan, looks back at the Beatles and John Lennon.
about my age, quite young really, it is quite likely that the Beatles made a great impact on your teenage years. Way back in October 1960, their voices singing "Love Me Do," and obligingly, I did love them. It only reached number 17, but by February 1963, Please Please Me reached number 1 and they were off. 1963, if you remember, was that famously dreadful winter when the snow and ice just went on and on. And after weeks of indoor lunchtime breaks, the desperate teachers decided we could have music in the hall and dance to it during the lunchtime. This album, Please Please Me, was our favourite. And we twisted and shouted, well, perhaps not shouted, but we twisted away merrily. To be honest, my favourite Beatle was Paul McCartney, but we were all very inspired by John Lennon in March 1964 when he published his book In His Own Right. A nonsensical book, really, full of short stories and poems and little drawings. It all now seems such a long time ago and so incredibly innocent, really. And those of us who danced merrily have aged considerably since. Sadly, though, for John Lennon, life was cut short much earlier than it should have been, and he never got to reach his 80th birthday, which should have been last October. On the 8th of December 1980, John Lennon was shot dead, aged only 40. He was walking home with his wife Yoko Ono when the tragedy struck. He was shot multiple times by a crazed fan, Mark David Chapman, who is now in prison for his actions. Lennon's death left the fans of the Beatles and many others devastated. He was rushed to the Roosevelt Hospital in New York, but was pronounced dead on arrival at 11 p.m. Chapman is understood to have been furious at Lennon for his public statements, such as being more popular than Jesus, despite the fact that he was a Beatles fan. The remark about being more popular than Jesus came in 1966 and led to many threats to the Beatles, protests and record burning in America. It led John to being thought of as anti-Christian, but he denied being anti-Christ or even anti-religion. In the 1970s, Lennon did in fact show a strong interest in Christianity, saying the Beatles were always on the side of Christ. In 1977, he wrote some Christian songs and told friends he had become a born-again Christian. But his wife, Yoko Ono, took him to Tokyo and pulled him away from this. Eventually, he was said to have retained only universalist ideas. You may remember when the Beatles sang When I'm 64, and we all thought that was so old that we didn't need to worry about that just yet. And now 64 is just a fond memory for many of us. So though for John Lennon, reaching a ripe old age was something he was denied, for many of us who now look back and think that John Lennon would have been 80, feel suddenly very old indeed. Bye for now.
Thanks, Janet, for giving us some memories of the Beatles and John Lennon. And goodness, it's amazing how time flies and how long ago the Beatles were around, isn't it? And still very popular today. Of course, it's been announced this week that Dorchester Hospital will be one of the 53 NHS sites chosen by government to receive the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine, and the rollout is scheduled to begin this coming week. Of course, it's been picked because of the need with this particular vaccine to keep it at extremely low temperatures at -70°C. Leading hospitals like Dorchester will be designated as vaccine hubs to start immunisation of front NHS staff and patients. Hub hospitals will be responsible for vaccinating their own staff and ensuring neighbouring hospitals can get the jab to their own staff as well. It is thought the first members of the public that will get the vaccine will be those over 80 with the ability to get themselves to a vaccination point when requested. However, it's going to be a long time before everyone gets vaccinated, probably next summer or beyond. And in the meantime, we need to remain on our guard, especially with Christmas coming and more socialising happening over the Christmas period and people travelling around the country to be with family. Local statistics in our own area have shown in the last few days a significant increase in positive COVID tests, and also the belief that a lot of people in our locality are what's called asymptomatic, so they carry the virus but don't show the symptoms. The government have today released a new public information film to tell us how to keep ourselves safe, and in particular warning of this fact that many people carrying the virus and potentially spreading it are not showing the symptoms. So in line with the other national broadcasters that have been showing this public information film today, we're going to show it as well.
Every action counts when it comes to protecting ourselves and our loved ones from coronavirus. These reconstructions of everyday situations show how important small actions can be in helping to stop the spread of the virus. As restrictions change, we may want to reconnect with others, but we need to do so safely. By remembering to wash our hands, wear a face covering, keep space from others, and open windows when inside. We can all play our part to stop the spread of the virus. Coronavirus is highly contagious, and you might not display any symptoms. This means that many people spread it without knowing they're infected. So while some behaviours might not seem important, they can have significant impact on us and those we care about. We all need to be vigilant, even when meeting outdoors. The people you see and spend time with may not be at risk of becoming seriously ill from the virus, but the people they then meet may well be. Remember, there can be serious consequences to passing on coronavirus. Please wash your hands regularly, wear a face covering where required, keep your distance, ventilate indoor spaces, and reduce your social contact. Let's keep doing all we can to protect each other and help stop the spread.
There we go, that's the latest public information film released by the government today to help keep us safe from coronavirus over Christmas and beyond. Moving on, I think it was back at the beginning of November we mentioned about how the UK pantomime production companies have been affected by coronavirus, how many pantomimes were not happening this year, and how others were doing pantomimes in different ways. A month earlier, we had heard about our own panto in Weymouth being one of the only few across the region, and in fact the country, that would be running. Then, of course, we were hit by another lockdown, and many plans were cancelled or put on hold. And those like Weymouth Panto were not able to know whether they'd be actually able to go ahead, because we didn't know what would happen when we came out of the lockdown. I thought, therefore, bearing in mind it's coming up to Christmas and the panto season, I would revisit our Panto story now to see how things have developed, now things are a bit clearer, to see what's happening with the Weymouth pantomime, and to look at the other online pantomime that we previously looked at.
Well, we're into December and it's pantomime season. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, no, it isn't. Well, oh, yes, it is. The good news is that the pantomime at Weymouth Pavilion started yesterday, the 4th of December. Now, Weymouth Pavilion have got lots of precautions in place to make it safe and COVID secure for you. If you want to book places at the Weymouth Pavilion pantomime, which is Rapunzel, go along to their website at www.weymouthpavilion.com. We thought, as part of this report, we would pop in and see the team at Weymouth Pavilion in their rehearsals. See that Weymouth Pavilion is open once again and the traditional Christmas pantomime is happening. But of course that won't suit everybody, and a few weeks ago we did drop in on Peter Duncan, the former Blue Peter presenter and chief scout, to hear that he was planning to record his own pantomime in his garden. So I just thought we'd remind ourselves first of all what Peter told us a few weeks ago.
I began to wonder, could I make a pantomime film in my own garden? I knew I had the costumes, I knew I had the set and scenery. I asked my neighbours if I could use their garden as well. So suddenly the whole idea expanded. To be truth known, from the moment I had the idea, I kind of knew it was in some form, it was going to happen.
So this week we've been trying to catch up with Peter and his team to see how the recording of his panto went. And first we spoke to some of the actors and asked them if they were going on a desert island, who would they take with them? Let's hear what they said.
She brings Jack, obviously brings Jack, because she's very enamoured with him, aggressively enamoured with him in many ways.
The wolf, in case I'm hungry. Got to be Buttercup, because it's the only one he really loves, although he does leave her.
Do I need to procreate to make the next generation, or do I have to sit with my friend and laugh?
I'm going to have to change that.
We do fall in love in the end, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Garden fairy he takes because she's naughty but nice.
Well, it has to be the dame, because I think the squire certainly fancies ladies occasionally, and she's very, very attractive, Dame Trot, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Flesh creepy, sort of like sidekick, master.
Oh yeah, Jill, because she's my maid.
Now, am I choreographer or am I cow?
You're cow.
Oh, I'm cow. Which? Oh, I'd bring a bull with me. That's it.
Our next question to the cast was, if you had to describe the panto Jack in the Beanstalk, your production, in one word, how would you describe it?
One word.
Fantastic.
Effervescent. Green.
Bonkers.
Magical.
Extraordinary.
Just insane.
Chaos. Complete chaos.
Fun.
Bonkers.
Boom.
So there you go, you've met some of the stars in Peter Duncan's Jack in the Beanstalk, an online production that will be available all over Christmas. We've heard about Weymouth Pavilion and the fact that their live panto is very fortunately happening this Christmas, if that's what you'd like to go and see. And I thought I'd just finish this report by looking at Peter's trailer for his Jack in the Beanstalk thing, just to remind us what panto's all about. And so whether we're going to go to the pantomime at Weymouth Pavilion, or this year we're going to beam a panto into our own home, let's remind ourselves what panto's all about.
The sun will rise to light the skies and merrily bells ring out, surprise and brighten all the folks in lockdown.
What a goal!
Gosh, it is long.
Farewell!
What's that?
Oh no, there isn't!
Aiming to attack!
These are beans. Where is the gold?
Awake and take your chance.
I will climb to save my family from tyranny and greed.
I am the great pretender!
I think you're in the wrong pantomime. Oh, Jack, where are you, Jack? Jack!
So there we go, that's just an update on the Weymouth Pavilion Panto. As I say, tickets are available on their website, weymouthpavilion.com, or obviously giving them a telephone call. And Peter Duncan's Jack and the Beanstalk production are available online at Panto Online. And Panto is great fun. It is the thing, other than church and presents at Christmas, that we all think is familiar at Christmas time, and we certainly need cheering up at Christmas, and both of those pantos I think look to be great fun. So hopefully you'll support our actors who've been working really hard to put these sorts of things on for us, particularly at this time. One issue that seems to be a constant thing that we're hearing week in and week out and need to be wary of is the increasing number of bogus emails, scam telephone calls, postal scams, and attempts to defraud us of our money. And I'm sure we've all come across these in recent times and over the recent months and years, and it certainly seems to be becoming more prevalent. So I thought this week I would look a bit about this problem and see where we are with it.
I was sorry to hear from someone this week about how they've been scammed out of money by an elaborate scheme. In the last 12 months, fraudsters and scammers have obtained £1.3 billion from UK residents, and another £1.8 billion has been stopped by the banks. That's a whopping £3 billion of transactions attempted and successful. That's almost as much money as the retailer Argos turns over in a year. The scam went like this. They received an email from the Royal Mail telling them of an unsuccessful delivery attempt of a parcel on which they needed to pay £1.99 customs. Of course, these days of using eBay and Amazon and purchases coming from all over the world, that's a very credible thing to happen. The email asked the recipient to click on and reschedule a delivery and to enter their bank details to make payment, which they did. Thinking it was a bit suspicious, the recipient contacted their bank when it was next open. The next step that happened was they received a call from someone pretending to be their bank to ask if it was them that informed the bank of fraud. They then went on to ask identification questions and asked if any transactions had been made over the weekend. All very credible questions that you might think a bank would ask. They then went on to say that they would have to close their bank account and set up a new one and would call back, but of course they never did. Having checked the phone by dialing 1471, the call was recorded as the number on the back of the individual's bank card. But a call to the number on the back of the card eventually revealed that the calls had come from the scammers. After a visit to the bank, it was discovered that the individual savings account had been accessed and drained of funds. Fortunately, the story hopefully ends well and the bank agreeing to refund the money. Unfortunately, whether it's an email, a phone call, or even a letter in the post about unpaid invoices, amounts to pay on customs, tax refunds that are due to you, these are all elaborate systems to get enough information out of you over several contacts to be able to access your accounts. So you have to be very wary. This short video from the Metropolitan Police explains one such fraud.
We all get cold calls, but sometimes, just sometimes, the call is far more sinister. It's someone saying they're from the tax office, or your bank, or claiming to be from the police. You go cold. You're on high alert. You've heard about this sort of thing, so you listen to their advice. The trouble is, they're not who they say they are, and they're impersonating an authority you trust. There are two kinds of fraud going on. The first is when the caller introduces themselves as the police and asks if you've made a large purchase using your card. You don't recognise the amount they're quoting, so of course you say no. The person on the end of the phone then sympathetically tells you that your card has been compromised. But don't worry, they say, we're the police. We're here to help. They'll tell you to call someone right away, like 101, or the bank helpline number on the back of your card. So you hang up and immediately call them. At least you think you've hung up. You see, the criminals have not hung up. They're still there, on the other end of the line. To help trick you, they might play some audio of a dialing tone, and then the sound of a phone ringing for a while, before they answer it. All clever tricks to make everything seem normal. If you've called the bank helpline, when they answer, a friendly voice tells you you're through to the card issuer. Only, of course, you're not. You're still talking to the criminals. They tell you not to worry, and they'll start by getting your card details so they can block it. So you read them the long number on the front of the card and then the expiry date. Next, they very kindly tell you not to directly tell them your PIN code over the phone. That would be a security risk. Instead, they ask you to dial it into the phone using the keypad. That way, it's nice and safe and secure. But the criminal's computer knows exactly what numbers you've pressed. And hey presto, now they have your card number, expiry date, and PIN.
This scam relied on the fraudsters keeping the line open, so when you call back to verify using the number off the back of the bank card, you're connected straight to them. So it's never a good idea to return a call straight away, and never give out any information that will give anyone access to your accounts. Another big area of scamming is the one where you're due a tax refund and you get an email to tell you. Of course, anyone thinking that they're going to get a tax refund is going to be eager to follow the process to get the money. Of course, HM Revenue and Customs never contact you in this way, and they've produced this simple video to give some useful advice.
At HMRC, we're working hard to fight tax scams during the coronavirus pandemic. Here's how you can also protect yourself. Be alert. Think before parting with your information or money. Be calm. It's okay to refuse requests. If you feel rushed, it could be a scam. Be secure. Contact HMRC and your bank if you think you've been a victim. Remember, if it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. For more information, search scams on gov.uk.
Many banks have dedicated helplines for fraud and scams, so if you're unsure of anything, contact them without delay. Look up the relevant numbers on the bank's website. Many banks also have dedicated numbers for the over 70s to help with these situations. Another very good resource is the Age UK website, and this has a great page explaining all the different scams and frauds and showing you how to avoid them. I really do hope that you will be able to stay safe from the scammers this Christmas and throughout the rest of this year.
There we go. So that's about scams and frauds. And unfortunately, many people do succumb to this, and it's no reflection on them, because these people are incredibly clever. I know lots of people who are very bright people who have actually succumbed to this sort of fraud as well. So, just be wary. If it sounds a bit strange and you're not sure, say, sorry, put the phone down, and then leave it a long time before you make a call so that the line is still not open. So we're going to now look at the week ahead and what's coming up, and we're actually going to look beyond the week ahead as we're coming up to Christmas, and mention quite a few things in this section of the programme today. But first of all, we're going to have the national weather forecast.
I was sorry to hear from...
Hello there. Well, some of us saw some appreciable snowfall through Friday. Thankfully the snow has eased off, but for the rest of today it will remain quite cold with further showers, but equally some of us will see some sunshine too. Most of the showers focus across parts of southern England through Saturday afternoon, as well as draped around the coasts of northern and western Scotland, some down the east coast of England as well. Nowhere will it be particularly warm, particularly in brisk winds out towards the west, but further east perhaps not feeling quite as cold as it did on Friday. So some further showers affecting southern counties of England as well as coastal areas elsewhere, and then an area of cloud and some showery outbreaks of rain pushing back into eastern Scotland as well as northern England through the early hours. Some frost and fog forming where skies are clear, and indeed quite a sharp frost across parts of Northern Ireland and western Scotland. The bigger picture for Sunday shows our area of low pressure pulling away to the south, the isobars pulling apart, so not a lot of wind around on Sunday, but notice we're still in that cold air mass which takes over the UK as well as a good bit of Western Europe. So we'll start off with cloud and outbreaks of patchy rain pushing away southwestwards across other parts of England and Wales through Sunday. Elsewhere, the fog will take its time to clear where it has formed and could linger into the afternoon, and here it will be quite cold. Elsewhere, though, some sunshine around and with light winds, perhaps feeling just a touch warmer than recent days. Next week stays quite quiet to start off with, frost and freezing fog around on Monday morning, some rain returning by Tuesday. That's your forecast. Take care.
So that's the national weather forecast. What's it going to be like locally in the week ahead? Well, it's going to be much colder, as we saw there, with Monday looking to be the lowest daytime temperature at around 4 or 5 degrees. That's daytime. And you can see in the chart there that at night time the temperature is going to be dropping to 0 or a bit lower. There's going to be a few sunny spells earlier on this week, but Thursday and Friday is looking like it's going to be wet and cold. So changeable at the early part of the week, wet and cold Thursday and Friday, but certainly very cold at night now. Looking at our traffic and travel and road closures, etc., works continue on Weymouth Harbour side to allow for the removal of the rail tram lines from the highway. Drainage works continue on the edge of Preston Beach Road, starting from about the Lodmore Park area. And this week, up till the 7th, Wessex Water will be doing roadworks on Lanehouse Rocks Road, and delays are possible there. And as we heard at the start of the programme, the roadworks start in Old Castle Road and will be going on for some time whilst that work is undertaken. On the trains, there's no notified engineering works on the rail lines from Weymouth either this weekend or the week ahead. Moving to what's on. Firstly, we'll look at movies as we have been in the recent months. Movies being released in December. The next big movie coming out seems to be Wonder Woman 1984. It was originally due for release in June, but now is being released on the 16th of December. Fast forward to the 1980s as Wonder Woman's next big screen adventure finds her facing two all-new foes, Max Lord and the Cheetah. It's the 9th Wonder Woman movie and a sequel to the last release in 2017, and in the UK it's rated at PG-13. So let's have a look briefly at Wonder Woman.
My life hasn't been what you probably think it has. We all have our struggles.
Have you ever been in love?
A long, long time ago. You?
So many times. Yeah, all the time.
Welcome to the future. Life is good, but it can be better. And why shouldn't it be? All you need is to want it. Think about finally having everything you always wanted.
I can save today, but you can save the world.
Steve.
Diana.
take what I want in return.
Everyone must see. The world needs you. You know what you need to do.
Nothing good is born from lies. And greatness is not what you think.
It's all art.
That's just a trash can.
It's just a trash can. Yeah.
So there we go. That's Wonder Woman the movie. So originally intended to come out in June, but now coming out on the 16th of December and rated PG-13. Well, we're going to be starting to talk about what's coming up for Christmas. So I thought to get us in the mood for the run-up to Christmas, we should have a look at the Christmas tree that's been put up in All Saints Church this week. But we're going to look at it in a slightly different way because thanks to Jeff Rivers, he's done a time-lapse video of the tree going up and being decorated for us. There we go. And thanks very much to Jeff Rivers for his clever time-lapse photography there, and to Jeff, Mary and Janet for decorating the tree. So let's look at what's happening in the run-up to Christmas. Well, we mentioned that Weymouth Pavilion is back open and the pantomime is on, so please do look at the Pavilion website and see all of the events that they've got coming up and support them at this time, as they very much will be grateful for your support. At the Noth Fort, we've mentioned that they are having carols by the Wessex Musical Theatre on the 12th and 13th of December before, so remember that one. And each weekend, in fact this weekend that we've just gone and the 12th and 13th, they've got elves at the Noth Fort as well. And they've got their Victorian Christmas Fair on the 12th to the 13th of December. Once again, to remind you that the Sea Life Centre is back open as well. Looking at what's happening Christmassy like over the Christmas period. On Monday the 21st of December at 7 p.m, those that are involved in carols around the Christmas tree in White Square, All Saints Church and Weymouth Concert Brass are coming together to have a different type of carol event. It's Carols on Your Doorstep, WykeRegis. The idea is that everyone can join from the safety of their own home. They can go onto a central website, they can print off a poster and put it up in their window, they can print off an invite and stick it through a neighbour's or friend's door, they can print off a carol sheet so they've got the words to sing, and then at 7 o'clock on Monday the 21st of December they can link onto a website where a choir and band will be live streamed from All Saints Church, and we can all join in singing carols together across WykeRegis, across Weymouth and beyond, and singing together safely from our own homes. Now, the website to go to that has got the information on and the posters, the invites and the carol sheets, and where the link will be put on the evening for you to join in, is www.wykeregis.com. Nice and easy to remember, www.wykeregis.com. Also to say, if you like your traditional carol service, your service of 9 lessons and carols, there will be a service live streamed at 6 p.m. on Sunday the 20th of December from All Saints Church. So that's the evening before. So that's 6 p.m. on Sunday the 20th of December. On Christmas Eve, there's usually a large Christmas nativity and balloon service from All Saints Church. Well, obviously that can't happen this year because of the restrictions. But at 4 p.m. there will be a live streamed children's service available on all the usual channels for children and family to join from at home. And most importantly to note that this year the actual services done live in the church that you can attend are quite limited, but there will be midnight mass at All Saints Church 11:30 on Christmas Eve, and the Christmas morning service will be at St Edmund's Church at 10 a.m. on Christmas Day. Now, both of these services will be ticketed services. That's because there is a limit on the number of people that can be in each church, 55 at All Saints and 25 at St Edmund's. Now, the tickets are free, so there's no charge. It's just a way that we have to control the number of people and make sure we don't have more people than we're allowed in the buildings. And these tickets will be released next weekend, and we will tell you about that in the programme next week and how to get them if you're interested. But also to say, if you don't want to go out on a cold evening to midnight mass at 11:30, that you will be able to join the service live from Facebook and YouTube, as it will be live streamed. So you can pour yourself a sherry, you can put your feet up in front of the fire, put a blanket over your legs, and you can join in with the service live from your own home if you're unable to get a ticket or you don't want to come out in the cold and dark. To remind you that the regular services are now open again, and Sundays is 9:30 at All Saints and 11 at St Edmund's, and there's also a service at All Saints at 10:30 on Wednesdays. And on Tuesday evening at 5 there's a streamed evening service, and on Friday at 5 p.m. there's an Advent reflection. I think it's called the Light of Advent. Sorry, I've forgotten the information, but it's a themed thing on Advent to reflect and think about the season of Advent, and that's streamed at 5 o'clock on a Friday. And of course, tonight, as ever, at 7:30, we've got our quiz. So if you're not doing anything this evening, if the TV doesn't interest you, pop back onto this channel at 7:30 and join us for our Saturday quiz evening. Everybody is welcome, and that's usually a bit of fun for everyone. So until next week, I'll say good night. I hope you have a safe week, although it might be a bit colder, so keep yourselves warm, and I'll see you at the same time next Saturday.